First, I would like to thank all of you for coming to this class. And I would like to thank the biology department at Osaka Prefecture University, and especially my good friend Tanida-san. Now, let's look at the topics we are going to discuss over the next 3 lectures. First of all, if English is our second language, we often emphasize that writing is difficult. What we are going to try and do over these next 3 classes is emphasize why shouldn't writing be easy? And you will see, because what I am going to teach you is issues about organizing our writing. The key to scientific writing is not literary skill, it is organization. And that is what we are going to emphasize, is organization. We are going to assume that your research is completed. We are not going to talk about research. We're going to talk about what do you do with your research once it's done. How do you publish your research? We are going to ask a series of questions. Where should we publish the research that we do? How do we submit manuscripts? How do we deal with the editors of the journals we choose and with the reviewers of our manuscripts? I will then talk about how we make oral presentations and posters. Posters have become extremely popular as a way of conveying information at scientific meetings. And then I will talk a little about funding and grants, but very, very little. And I will talk about this in terms of international issues. So, this, as biologists know, is Charles Darwin. And Charles Darwin once wrote that a naturalist's life would be a happy one if he only had to observe and never had to write. So even as great a scientist as Darwin was, who wrote over 20 books, even as great a scientist as he was, he did not like to write. It was very difficult for him. So the idea of this seminar that we will have is that research, no matter how good it is or how important the results are, is not complete until it is written and is published. Research is not complete until it is written and it is published. So, as scientists, and most of us are biological scientists, we must not only do science, we must write about science. Some of you may be going into fields where you are communicating information about science, such as in magazines or newspapers, to the public, to the people that don't understand science as well. So in that case, communication is even more important. This is a very, very important point I want you to read right here. Scientists become known, or they remain unknown, based on their publications. So it is through our writing that we not only communicate our ideas, but we communicate our information and become known. Or if we don't write, we remain unknown. And this is also a very important point. Good scientific writing does not lead to the publication of poor science. If you do poor science, good writing does not make it look better. However, poor writing does prevent or delay the publication of good science. So if we do bad science, good writing will not help. But if we do good science and have poor writing, it does hurt us. Now, here are the goals of our workshop. This is the first part dealing with publications. To prepare manuscripts that have a high probability of being accepted and published as technical reports or in scientific journals. That is the overall goal. And some of you that are master students will do research that is publishable in scientific journals. And certainly all of you that are PhD students or going on to a PhD would want to be able to say that you are going to prepare papers that will be accepted and published in scientific journals. The second issue, and this is even more important, is to make sure that our articles are completely understood when they are published. That they are completely understood when they are published. As you probably have noticed, there is a handout that all of you received, and all of the PowerPoints that I present are on this handout. So you may want to make additional notes, or you can read here if you have difficulty seeing the screen from the back. Now, here are the goals of our class. To prepare a scientific paper, we must know what to do and why we do it. We must know what we do and why we do it. And this is the key. Preparing a scientific paper is not a matter of literary skill. It's not being a great writer. It is a matter of organization. Organization. So that's really what we are going to emphasize from now on, is issues surrounding organization of our writing, organization of the information that we want to convey. Now, this is probably the most important single slide that I will put up in the 3 lectures. When we do scientific writing, we ask 4 questions. 4 questions. The first is, what was the problem that I studied? What was the problem I studied? The second is, how did I study it? The third is, what did I find? And the fourth is, what does it mean? What was the problem? How did I study it? What did I find? What does it mean? These 4 questions become the basic parts of a scientific paper. The introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussion. So, if you are writing about what was the problem I studied, it goes to the introduction. If you are writing about how did I study it, it goes to the methods. If you are writing about what did I find, it goes to the results. If you're writing about what does it mean, it goes to the discussion. What you do is you repeat these questions. And for example, if you're saying, what does it mean, if you're answering a question about what your research means, and you put it into the results, you know it should not be in the results. It should be in the discussion. So the 4 questions really help us decide what we put in the different parts of the paper. What was the problem I studied? Introduction. How did I study it? Methods. What did I find? Results. What does it mean? Discussion. If we're not matching the questions with the parts of a paper, we're making a mistake and we have to move it around. So this is